A powerful, moving, and funny tribute by Cher to her ex-husband, Sonny. And I'm joined by Morton Downey Jr. You remember him on television, and he was inside. What was it like in there?
Well, you know, my father used to kid me and say I cried at card tricks. But I can assure you, Cher's was the most moving presentation of a human being about another human being that I've ever seen. And the beauty of seeing all of those former partners and current partners of Sonny's together and loving and caring for each other, that is really family. I think, John, if years ago someone would say, well, what would you like your kids to be when they grow up? You'd say, well, like Abraham Lincoln or George Washington or Martin Luther King. After hearing what I heard today and seeing what I saw today, I would love my little girl to grow up like Sonny Bono.
How did you get to know Sonny Bono?
I met Sonny in 1957, Aldo's Coffee Shop. I was with Russ Regan and a bunch of friends of mine. We were back there, and Sonny came in. As a matter of fact, I think that's the day that he met Cher for the first time. I'm not sure. But that's how I met him. He had done a couple of little records. He was a promotion man. He was everything. One time he was a little on the heavy side, too.
And then, did you keep up your friendship with him over the years?
No, I didn't, because I went a different route.
Right.
I went to, while he went into music, I went to Washington, D.C. and went to work for Bobby Kennedy and Speaker John McCormick, and I muscled around there for a number of years. I was an officer of the Democratic Party before I became a Republican. And we fell away from each other. When I went back into television 15 years ago is when we met again.
Were you surprised that he got into politics?
No, he always loved politics. He always loved politics, and he always used to say, if you can't beat him again.
But he was a guy that people really underestimated in Washington, D.C., wasn't he?
Yeah, they did. They underestimated Sonny because he was soft. He was always smiling. But you know what? He had a focus that could burn a hole through Superman's costume. He was a human dynamo.
And he figured out ways to reinvent himself. He was a very public guy, too. I mean, you're a guy that's talked about all the things that have happened in your life on television. He was also a guy that talked about his successes and his failures.
You know, and it's wonderful. Today you get an example of that. There's hope for me yet. You get an example of the people, how they respond when someone will tell the truth about themselves. Everything in life doesn't have to be good. It never is. Think about it. We have to work hard to teach our children to be good. Never have to teach anyone to be bad.
There are a lot of people here today who are suggesting, look, how many other congressmen in the United States would get a tribute like Sonny Bono got today? And I can't think of many necessarily.
I can't either, other than the fact that maybe Newt Gingrich in his own district would. But Sonny, you know, Sonny is buried in the bosom of America, not just in Cathedral City. He's buried in the bosom of America, and there aren't many others, John, you're right.
How do you think Sonny Bono is going to be remembered? As the politician, as the entertainer?
No, he'll always be remembered. Cher was right. It's always going to be Sonny and Cher, America's favorite couple other than Desi and Lucy. He'll be remembered as a visionary. A pop singer who was a visionary. I mean, he went through the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, all with different careers.
When you listen to Cher talk about their life, and it is quite amazing, I think, that his ex-wife gets up in front of his wife and talks about Cher's life with Sonny. I mean, and laughs about it and kids about it. It's a real tribute, I think, to the relationship between Sonny and his wife.
It is, and more importantly, it's a tribute to how brilliant Mary is. Mary is very, very, very smart. It would be my guess, once she gets over the grief, she would be the best representative of Sonny's thinking and of this district's thinking back in Washington, D.C. She should be the congressperson from here.
You remember the last time you saw him?
Last time I saw Sonny? Gosh, it was about 3 weeks ago, I think, wasn't it?
Was it?
I think it was about 3 weeks ago, yes. He's always been a great guy. You're doing great. You look great, and I'm delighted to be with you.
Listen, I appreciate you.
Sorry under these circumstances.
It is, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. It's good to see you, and thanks for stopping by. Morton Downey Jr. We are going to continue our coverage of the life, the celebration of Sonny Bono's life here on MSNBC right after this. Don't go away.